Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. Alex Stevenson here, joined by Jake Faith.
What's up?
We're going to talk a little Magic. I'm going to bring back a couple of the old bumpers that we haven't used for a long time. So without further ado, we're going to start Metagame Breakdown. Beautiful.
Yeah, I like the 80s hawk scream at the beginning.
Yeah, I like that too. It's very professional. I like that. Alright, so I'm going to go through my list. It's the same list I've been running for the last few weeks here. Boros Aggro. So I'm running 4 Rakdos Cackler, 4 Fire Drinker Satyr, 4 Burning Tree Emissary, 4 Fire Fist Striker, 4 Gorehouse Chainwalker, 4 Chandra's Phoenix, 4 Shock, 4 Lightning Strike, 4 Chain to the Rocks, 2 Boros Charm, 4 Temple of Triumph, 4 Sacred Foundry, 4 Mutavault, 10 Mountains. And then the sideboard is another Boros Charm, 2 Wear and Tear, 3 Skullcrack, 2 Pacifism, 3 Electrickery, 2 Mizium Mortars, 1 Act of Treason, and 1 Hammer of Perforos. So the deck performs really well. It's been working really well in my meta. It's quick. It's very consistent. Some of the odd main deck choices you might have noticed are like no Ash Zealot. And that's because I really wanted to be able to capitalize most of the time off of Burning Tree Emissary. So Gorehouse Chainwalker is sort of in that card's place. And you get the additional power, but you don't get the first strike. And it is important. Ash Zealots, both the haste and the first strike are super important advantages of that card over Gorehouse Chainwalker. But I don't know. I could actually see maybe doing a 2-2 split instead. And then it slightly lowers my Burning Tree Emissary, but consistency, but it still adds, another haste creature, which is nice with the Chandra's Phoenix as well. I could see a nice turn, a Satyr into Ash Zealot into Chandra's Phoenix is a really nice
Ash Zealot is very good, and I do like it. I don't like necessarily the idea of reducing Gorehouse Chainwalker, but I guess if you've got to cut something, that's probably what it has to be.
Yeah, this is a tough deck to make changes for main deck now. The last change I did was cutting Goblin Shortcutters. There were 2 of them main deck for the 2 Boros Charms, just because I wanted more stuff to do against control. And I mean, it's been a welcome addition. 4 damage out of nowhere, considering how fast and much pressure this deck puts on with the shocks and lightning strikes anyway. It's a big deal, and it does take them out fairly fast sometimes, and Boros Charm's usually a nice top deck late game too, even if you don't have any creatures.
Yeah. Just
blasting them for 4 can be enough sometimes. Chain of the Rocks, still happy with that main deck choice. Definitely a unique one. The other Boros aggro list, I think, was only running like maybe 1 or 2 main deck. So I've got like the full 4 just because I want to not have to mess around with Desecration Demons and Night Veil Specters. Like, it's always nice having a Lightning Strike and a Chain to the Rocks, and then they play Night Veil Spectre, because I don't necessarily, depending on where I'm at in the game, I can just use Chain to the Rocks instead and get the burn value out of Lightning Strike.
Yeah.
So it's nice I think it's just an amazing removal spell for 1 mana, and it pays off hard most of the time. Arguably, I could see it being not that good against, like, Gray Merchant, if they're packing some sort of enchantment removal, because then they can get it back.
Yeah, actually getting another use off that is pretty crippling.
But, I mean, at the same time, you are exiling it, so then they're not getting their Whip of Erebus renewal with it, you know what I mean?
It's true.
So I guess it's kind of good either way. But just exiling in general, I mean, it's the Path to Exile of this set. I guess more like Journey to Nowhere of this set, but
it's really well done, I think.
Yeah.
I think initially it looked kind of like a bad card. I'm warming up to it, and its rarity is fine, I suppose, for limited, even though I don't necessarily think that it needed to be a rare for limited because you can only play it in one strategy, and that is red-white, you know.
I like it a lot in, like, the idea of it in an American control list or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure a mostly blue-white shell would love to have access to something that was,
just a one-drop removal spell.
Well, it's kind of funny. I almost want to say you could do it in just a blue-white deck, and just run for Sacred Foundry for, what was the other land?
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, since, they're both double as mountains, and then and maybe there's some other red thing you'd want to splash for. I don't know.
Well, you could
Thought
play
Flare.
War Leader's Helix, I suppose.
War Leader's Helix, Thought Flare.
And at least War Leader's Helix, well, you wouldn't run Thought Flare because of Sphinx's Revelation, probably.
True.
But War Leader's Helix can kill Planeswalkers, which is good,
Yeah, it's a good point. Take it out.
I guess there's also Aurelia, which can just deal 6 damage and be a blocker for you, too.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Your win con gets in twice. So, maybe it's wishful thinking and I'm just overhyping Chain of the Rocks, but I will say for this strategy it works really well. Since pretty much all your threats are so cheap. That's why it's so efficient. You really feel like you're putting pressure on every game fast. But let's go through the matches. So round 1 I played against Junk midrange, and this is a deck that it's really good. It's full of expensive goodies. It's like Voice of Resurgence, Loxodon Smiters, Golgari Charms, Obzidot, Blood Baron of Vizkopa. It's like just all bomb threats. And then it's like Hero's Downfall and Sylvan Caryatid to help fix a little bit more. And it's running Elvish Mystics too, just for more ramping, I'm thinking too.
Not pleased anymore.
I'm trying to think what else is in his deck. It's really powerful. Obzidot is such a big threat against us too, when you can't race it,
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and Blood Baron, of course, is like the main reason I'm running Mizium Mortars out on my side. I've been kind of disappointed with it lately. I'm thinking about going back up to 4 Skullcrack and just sort of focusing on that instead in the matches where people are playing Whip of Erebus and stuff like that. I think it's just a really nice way to screw up their combat math, you know what I mean? Where they're like, okay, all I have to do is get in this turn, and then if you can counteract that life gain plus deal damage to them, or even in response to like the Sphinx's Revelation or something, I could see that being really important. So I might focus more on the Skullcrack plan in the future here, instead of trying to fuss around with Mizium Mortars.
Yeah.
A lot of time it just felt like I wanted to burn them with Mizium Mortars.
Right.
Because I still have the Chain of the Rocks. Not that I can't. I can't take Blood Baron out with that, but I still have like the Chain of the Rocks for Loxodon Smiter, which would be another creature where Mizium Mortars would be good. But it's as long as I've got the out for it. Like in the Junk mid-range match, stuff like Voice of Resurgence and Loxodon Smiter is easily answered with Chain of the Rocks. So I don't really need the extra help out of sideboard, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Mizium Mortars.
Yeah.
So maybe for any of the life gain decks, I just focus on the Skullcrack plan, and then maybe for any of the Smiter decks, it's okay to not have the Mortars because I've still got the Chain of the Rocks.
And even more pacifism against Smiter style deck.
Yeah, and I do have the 2 pacifisms as well. You're right, which is actually still okay against Voice of Resurgence. Not terrible against Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah. You
You
just
have- you have
can't
to
use
remember
your
it.
you
You have to
just can't
remember
use
it.
your Chakra Lightning Strike, against any or against them on their turn or whatever.
Or else you get punished. But
Yeah.
at least it turns off the annoying die effect. So yeah, I took him game 1. Not even fast, just like I went first, and it was just. In fact, I went first all of Friday. There wasn't actually one match where I didn't go first, which is, I think, a new thing for me. I don't think I've ever had that happen before, but it was every dice roll I won, which is just. I feel like, obviously going first is an advantage, but for this deck in particular, where it's like you really punish them in the first 5 turns of the game.
Yeah.
And you just put them on edge so hard, so fast when you're on the play. So it's definitely a huge advantage with this deck. So I took him game 1, and then game 2, it was a little bit of a nail biter, but I think I don't don't know if I got screwed or what it was, but I do remember losing to just Advent to the Worm, and I couldn't deal with it, which is another card I forgot to mention that was in that deck, Advent to the Worm. And then he's got Unflinching Courage and stuff out of sideboard, but not main deck. Not enough value main deck. It's a really good deck. Ultimate Price, I think, is more sideboard, but he definitely brought that in against me. And the Sylvan Caryatids are even good against us. Not good against the Satyr, but at least stops the Cackler and the Burning Tree and I guess that's it. But Fire Fist Striker, it's another thing that can block. Or, it's something that Fire Fist Striker can't target. It also blocks Mutavault. And another thing about my deck, it's only got 24 creatures and then the 4 Mutavaults, so 28 creatures. Most of these lists are running 30 creatures as like their number. And it's been really difficult for me to adjust any of these. Like even the land base, I can't even really touch the mana base because 4 of them are Mutavault. So I'm really only running 18, colored lands.
Right. And
I don't really feel comfortable dropping either of them. I like the way that the deck gets mana. It plays well like that, I think. I get mana flooded more often than screwed, but the 4 Temple of Triumph actually do a lot of work for this deck. I really like what they can do on like turn 3 when I've already got my 2 or 1 mana play, and then I'm like helping myself for next turn. The Scry in this deck is really beneficial on a land.
Yeah,
it's really beneficial.
Definitely.
Surprisingly, because you'd think it'd just be really clunky, but most of the time I have a mountain in my opening hand, so I can do anything I want anyway. And then a lot of times I'm doing like a Cackler, and then turn 2 Temple, Satyr, or another Cackler.
Just another 1-drop, basically.
It's just not, basically it's not that punishing is what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't say any more than 4. You probably punish yourself at that. But 4, it's okay. And same with the Mutavault. So some surprising things about this mana base. It kind of looks like a flimsy mana base, but it works really well.
And really you only need the 2 red to function anyway. So.
And what's the white I need main deck? Just,
Yeah, which you get off of 8 cards in your deck, so...
There's a good chance you see it, and you don't have to see them immediately,
Yeah.
You almost prefer to see them a little bit later, like turn 3 or 4. So it's worked out for me well. But game 3, I got flooded, and I just needed to draw more gas. I had a good start, but flooding happens, and there was nothing I could do about it. So lost in game 3. So I was a little discouraged. Round 1 lost, but round 2 I played against a Jund mid-range deck, and I'm trying to think of all the cards that I saw on it. There was Mizium Mortars, and I think Stormbreath Dragons. We're going to take a look at a Star City list in a little bit that was Jund mid-range as well. I think this had there were some distinct differences. He told me afterwards that he was missing some cards for it, so he didn't have the optimal build, like Anger the Gods and stuff like that, which I think would have been really important. I think he just wasn't as prepared for super quick aggro. He had like Abrupt Decays though, which is really good, and he had Hero's Downfall, I'm almost positive. So he definitely had the spot removal. It was just a little too... I think he had to mulligan as well. One game he might have mulliganed to 4, as a matter of fact.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think he just really got punished in our match in general. And he didn't have the optimal build. So, yeah, that happened. Round 3, blue-white control. This also was not like an optimal blue-white control. It was missing... I mean, it had the 4 Supreme Verdict, it had 4 Azorius Charm, it had 4 Detention Spheres. So, as far as foundationally, it was good in that respect, but there was no Jace Architect of Thought, which I think is just a really, really important card.
It's the key card draw, and Sphinx's Revelation. But...
Yeah, I'm not sure... I want to say he had Sphinx's Revelation. I'm pretty sure he did, but I'm not positive. But it was still... I mean, it was... control is always a big problem. I think he was just not super experienced with it, and he actually asked me afterwards if I would look at his deck. He was a younger kid, so he asked me if I would look at his deck and help me like to beat my deck. So I told him like what cards were really detrimental to me, and I helped. He had like a little bit too many win cons in it, like 3 Aetherling and stuff that, And I was like, you probably not. I'd be like 2 Aetherling,
And the Aetherling is like
he didn't
cheap,
have Elspeth either,
price wise,
you know,
which is probably why he went with Aetherling.
Yeah, which is actually, I mean, it's a legit option if you want to go no Elspeth and just solely do Aetherling. The problem is, I think people are packing Pithing Needle, so you have to be
ready with the Detention Sphere.
Yeah,
but that's not difficult.
It can totally. I mean, if you're control, you're going for the late game anyway, so you just slowly till you can get there. But yeah, I beat him 2-0. Azorius Charm is still a big deal. I mean, I still want to say it's the best charm. I guess Golgari Charm is probably the best charm right now because both enchantment and -1/-1 against the mono white aggro and our mono red aggros is a thing really important against mono white in particular.
Yeah,
since
actually,
Brave the Elements can't protect it.
And just destroying an enchantment against mono white is really relevant too.
For like the Spear of Heliod.
Or the
Path
other
of Bravery.
one, yeah, Path of Bravery. They have pump effects that get them out of range of your... Well, I suppose you can still do Anger of the Gods, but then the Golgari Charm at least can kill them with the -1/-1, so...
So I beat that, and then round 4 we played against Black-White Devotion. So this was basically a mono-black deck. I mean, it did have white spells in it, like Merciless Eviction, but it's mostly just doing Devotion stuff, Whip of Erebus and Grey Merchants, and then a bunch of removal, Devour Flesh, Hero's Downfall, post sideboard even more than that, a couple Pack Rats, one or two main deck. So it's a good list, and it's actually the list that beat me in top 8 last week. This time in round 4, I got to play first, which was huge. So I won game 1. Game 2, a little bit, just did not quite get the gas necessary to keep it going, and then he eventually was able to, I think, Merciless evict away a couple Chain to the Rocks and get his Desecration Demon and something else good back with a whip, and I just couldn't deal with the whip. So game 3, I just got an excellent draw. I believe he had to mulligan. I'm not positive. I'm not sure if he did or not actually, but in game 3, but it was quick. I had like ideal, one drop into Burning Tree creature and then removal to back it up, and then at that point that fast turn 2 3 creatures, 6 or 7 damage a turn. It's too hard for them to come back sometimes. They need to have the spot removal immediately. And then if I have like a Phoenix follow-up even, and then just a shock or two, a lightning strike, it's so easy to get rid of a lot of their defenders like Night Veil Spectre early, so they really need spot removal specifically. And if they don't have that, and I've got a good draw, it's like impossible to come back. So yes, hot draws fairly consistent with this deck, which makes it fun to play. So anyway, I beat that 2-1. Then top 8, I played against a Esper control list, and I got to play again, and it was steamroll. It was crazy. It was I believe it was Buck. He's actually been on the podcast before, but I beat him 2 games in a row. He might have had to mull one, if not both of them. I'm almost sure he did. I think both games he mulled the 6. And I think game 1 I mulled with him though, and then just got a hot draw, definitely. But both games, they were just really quick. And I remember game 2, he had Jace Architect of Thought, and I had like 3 creatures in a Mutavault, and I just kept swinging at him. And I was only dealing 4 to him, but I figured if I could just get a couple swings in, I could clean up with removal, and that's kind of how it panned out, because he just had to keep ticking Jace up to do all the damage prevention. And it's always tough to know whether you want to go for the Planeswalker or the player, but I just felt like in this case, because I brought in the Boros Charm at that point, so I just had a lot of top deck burn, and Skullcracks too were brought in, for when they try and Sphinx's Revelation.
And Boros Charm in particular versus them, where you can stop their Supreme Verdict if they're just going to hide behind a Jace,
Yeah, definitely. And Wear and Tear, I think, even comes in, because being able to instant speed away a Detention Sphere can be really huge. You know what I mean?
Oh, scary.
That was gross.
That was gross.
How's Centipede behind me?
Go get it. Go get it, Barb. She's scared.
Hunt it down. So anyway.
She
She did see it.
Yeah.
Like a hunter right now. I like it. Yeah, those things are gross. House centipedes. So anyway, we split top 4. Changes for next week. I think I'm going to add another Boros charm. And what else am I going to change? I might take out a Mizium Mortar. I want to add another Hammer of Perforos. When I did bring that in, it played really well. Hammer of Perforos is sweet. That's actually what won me the game against Esper Control, game 2. It was the Hammer, and he Supreme Verdicted twice that game, but I was able to just like hold a couple creatures and then like post, do like a Burning Tree Fire Fist Striker play and get in again.
Haste.
And and then I think I could just, slowly spit out the 3/3 dudes and still attack in and deal 2 past the Jace. So yeah, the Hammer is much better than I originally gave it credit for. I think that's actually an essential card in that match, and I think I want to go up to 2. I think 2 is a good number.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are probably going to be the changes. Yeah, so I'm probably going to drop the Mizium Mortars. And I could even see maybe dropping 1 Mortars, 1 Pacifism. I wouldn't mind having 1 Mizium Mortars, because I could also see it as like a late game overload
removal,
possible.
Almost make your guys unblockable this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they got the tokens.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, changes for next week. Okay, we're going to quickly look at Star City Games, Providence, and this is today, I believe. Yes. Okay, so Jund Midrange took first. We're going to take a look at it. This is Polychronos, Sylvan Caryatid, Storm Breath Dragon, Scavenging Ooze, Reaper of the Wilds. This does actually look similar to what Mike was playing, and he was the one that I played against. I'm pretty sure Polychronos and Sylvan Caryatid were in there, and there's definitely the Scavenging Ooze. Possibly the Reaper of the Wilds too, I'm not sure. So then Abrupt Decay, Hero's Downfall, Anger of the Gods, Mizium Mortars, Rakdos' Return, Read the Bones, Thoughtseize. Cool looking deck.
I like it.
It looks like what you expect a Jund deck to look like. It's got some good value in it. Is there anything that's sketchy about it? It seems very main deck like it's not. I don't know. It does have aggro answers. I feel like it doesn't have enough aggro answers.
Yeah, it's definitely not geared to beat aggro.
Main deck.
With the 3 Thoughtseize,
3
Read the Bones.
It's very punishing.
And only 2 Anger of the Gods and 1 Mizium Mortars. It has the 4 Abrupt Decay, 4 Hero's Downfall as its only removal too, so... I mean, obviously you can do Mizium Mortars as a single kill spell. None of the creatures really remove creatures except for Polychronos. Yeah, I don't know. 2 Anger of the Gods out of the board, though. I kind of wish that it wasn't running the 3 Thoughtseize, maybe. And that it was running more removal, like Anger. But I guess it kills all its Sylvan Caryatids and the Scavenging Oozes if it's going to run Anger. And Anger doesn't work with Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, it's true, because it exiles them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Scavenging Ooze is actually pretty good in the aggro match sometimes. I could actually see it being way better in the mono-white match than it is against mono-red. Because mono-red, we can still most of the time burn it out, except like mid to late game. If they try to do it early, yeah, they can't do much against a red deck with it. But yeah, I mean, mid to late it can still be good and get huge. So this actually looks like it'd be a fairly challenging deck post-sideboard, but I don't think they have enough to stop me main deck. I mean, they have Abrupt Decay, Downfall, and Anger of the Gods, and Sylvan Caryatid can block a couple things, but I don't know, I'm not exactly convinced. I think I would beat this main deck, and then they'd have to take out the Read the Bones and Thoughtseize, and bring in, and Rakdos' Return, and bring in Doomblades, Golgari Charms, and Anger of the Gods. Which is what they do, most likely. Alright, let's check out the second list. White-Red Aggro. So this is pretty much mono-white using Boros Charms. We've got Zorius Arrestor, Boros Elite, Daring Skyjack, Dryad Militant, Frontline Medic, Precinct Captain, Soldier of the Pantheon, 4 Johnny, ballsy, 4 Boros Charm, 4 Brave the Elements, and then sideboard 4 Banisher Priest, 3 Fiend Slayer Paladin, 2 Pacifism, 3 Skullcrack, 1 Wear, 2 Flames of the Firebrand. Wow.
You know, it might not be that ballsy to run for a Johnny, actually. because just doing double strike, flying two turns in a row on one guy could be really, really good.
Well, it's -3 though.
Yeah, and that's why you run 4, so you can do it 2 turns in a row.
Oh, I see what you're saying. With the new legend rule and
Mhm.
everything. Yeah, that's a good point. So you can just do it again. Yeah, all their guys are like fairly low power though.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of Daring Skyjack. I guess Daring Skyjack and Boros Elite. So they're banking on, they want to do it with 3 power guys.
Yeah.
Is their
But
plan.
you can also like
Pump it
plus,
up and make stuff
plus
bigger.
Daring Skyjack. You know,
Yeah,
turn 1
and then
Boros
do 8
Elite or
eventually.
whatever, yeah.
Or actually, they have another way to do double strike too with their Boros Charm. That's interesting. So they actually have a couple ways to get double strike
Mhm.
on their guys. Yeah, I'd like to see how I fare against this deck. Soldier of the Pantheon's good against us, but at least we run spot removal.
Yeah.
So we have the means to take it out.
Yeah, Soldier is a funny one to me that it's so strong against so many decks, but I guess
A lot of
everybody's running-
hybrid stuff
yeah.
being played right now, like
Mhm.
Frostburn Weirds and stuff too.
Mhm.
Cloudfin Raptors. Just
Well,
also,
not Cloudfin Raptor.
or Judge's Familiar.
Yeah, Judge's Familiar.
Same deck, but
Mm.
you're right. Different card. Yeah, Soldier's good. Stops my Cackler, it stops my Burning Tree. It's really important. Precinct Captain, also great against me. I have to
Mhm.
burn it. So they do have must burn spells. This is also why I'm packing 3 Electrickery sideboard. I like the idea of being able to kill most of their deck at
Yeah,
2
actually,
mana.
a lot of this deck dies, and these guys this deck isn't playing the enchantments that buff.
Spear of Hellion,
Yeah.
you're right. So I mean, yes, they have Brave the Elements. Yes, they have Boros Charm. But I have a bunch of spot removal as well.
Yeah.
So it's more like that sort of game where they can't tap out, they have to leave out Brave mana, and then I can force Braves out with spot removal. Be like, okay, shock your Precinct Captain.
Mhm.
You know, then maybe they Brave and get in, and then on your turn, when they're tapped out, you're just like, okay, Electrickery, let's
Mhm.
take care of this.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So options. So I'm a little more comfortable in this match, but it's still a coin toss. It's tough. I mean, they're just as fast as we are, and this one's actually running 30 creatures with the Mutavaults. Let's see, Mono Blue Devotion. We're pretty familiar with that. Let's see what this Mono Red aggro is doing. So it's 4 Burning Tree Emissary, 4 Chandra's Phoenix, 4 Satyr, 4 Chainwalker, 4 Cackler, 1 Rubble Belt Maka. Weird. 2 Chandra Pyromaster. Then we have 4 Chain to the Rocks, 4 Lightning Strike, 4 Shock, 2 Mizium Mortars. Interesting main deck choices. 4 Mutavaults as well. And then sideboard 4 Reckoners, 3 Boros Charms, 3 Anger of the Gods, 2 Mizium Mortars, 3 Peak Eruption. What do you think?
I think the peak eruption is particularly odd, but everything else seems okay. I feel like Chandra Pyromaster, though, is kind of boring. But I see the reason to run it. You just are after the 0 ability.
I actually really like the idea of Boros Reckoner
Mm-hmm.
sideboard. That makes me want to start trading for it. I think I might. I really like the idea of having that against the mono white aggro list. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I feel like that would be a really beneficial spell
Yeah.
to have against them. But also the mirror match would also be good. I'm trying to think where else it would be good. How would it be against the junk mid range deck? Too slow or? I mean, it still trades with Smiter.
It gets Abrupt Decayed. And, yeah, I don't know.
I guess it does get decayed, that's true. So it's probably too slow for them, but in the mirror match or mono white aggro, I would like to have like 2 or 3 of them on a sideboard. Probably 3. This does Anger the Gods, Boros Charms, Mizium Mortars, Peak Eruptions. Yeah, interesting mono red. 2 Chandra Pyromaster main deck too, which is,
Anger is really odd to me, but
I guess I'm not exactly sure. He's like more ready for the mirror matches, it
Yeah.
looks like. Look at opportune times to cast Anger. Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do Anger instead of Electrickery. That's really confusing, because the match you'd want to bring in Anger, you might as well Electrickery. So that's kind of strange. But did well for him that day.
mm-hmm.
And let's take a look at his green-black aggro. So this is Dreg Manglers, Mystic, Lot Less Trolls, Reaper of the Wild, Scavenging Ooze, Boon Satyrs, Polykranos, Brawls. This looks like a fun deck. Abrupt Decays, Golgari Charms, Hero's Downfall, Putrefy, Thoughtseize. Yeah, green-black has an excellent creature removal
Mhm.
right now. Excellent.
I don't like 3 Thoughtseize main deck.
People are just all about Thoughtseize right now because it hurts control so much. Maybe this is a deck that's kind of worried about that much.
Yeah, I suppose.
I guess it
Taking-
has the Vrals, though, to clean up on
and
Supreme
Scavenge.
Breaks.
Actually, and Lotlet Trolls, so it has 2
Regens?
regen guys.
Strange.
And Boon Satyr to act as pseudo regen even.
A lot of weird one-ups main deck. Golgari Charm, Putrefy, 1 Mutavault,
The Golgari Charm takes out Detention Sphere against control too.
and also kills aggro with the
Mhm.
-1/-1.
And regen's
Putrefy.
team versus aggro as well, so.
I would think, I mean, the Putrefy takes care of
Any
Whip
creature,
of
and-
Erebus
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point.
and Spear of Heliod.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the utility that he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Reaper of the Wilds is a really cool card. I like the idea of it gaining hexproof.
Mm-hmm.
Death Touch is almost irrelevant on it. I feel like it kills everything.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way.
But it's nice to have it.
I guess if somebody's creature gets monstrous. you
Yeah.
kill it.
Totally. Lotless Troll. Always thought it was a cool card. I really like Vrals with Boon Satyr. 3 mana, get +4/+4. 4 mana, get +5/+5. 4 mana, get +4/+4. It's really good in this deck. In the Dreg Mangler, you can pay less mana.
Yeah. Virals is cool
Sideboard, Pithing Needle, Lifebane Zombie,
as a one-up.
Mistcutter Hydra. This guy loves his one-ups. Shadowborn Demon, Gift of Orzova, Illness in the Ranks, Dark Betrayal, a couple more Golgari Charms, Vraska, and Duress.
Hmm.
Cool list.
Yeah, it is. I really like this list actually.
It looks like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, he looks like he has a finely tuned, well-balanced spell count in his deck. He was very much judging what he thought the meta was going to be, and then just having a little bit of everything
Mhm.
available to him main deck. So cool list. Looks like fun. All right, final section of the show here. Weird. Yorbis.
You forget about the H or the E in harvest, the first E. Harvest. You forget about that one.
He's saying it like I recorded that bumper. Are you crazy? All right, here it is, folks. All right, from the Legend set. Remember our hint last week? We said, remember Albert Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this card is Eureka, and it is an old rare sorcery from Legends. It's 2 green, 2 colorless sorcery. And let's do the old text first.
Okay.
Because it's much more fun.
Okay.
Both players may take any permanent in their hand and put it directly into play. Players take turns playing 1 card from their hand until neither wants to play more permanents. No other spells or effects of any kind may be used while Eureka is in effect. If a spell has an X in its casting cost, X is 0. Until neither wants to.
Yeah.
Okay. Starting with you, each player may put a permanent. This is a Oracle text. Starting with you, each player may put a permanent card from his or her hand onto the battlefield. Repeat this process until no one puts a card onto the battlefield. So it got a little less. What's the word I'm looking for?
40.
I was thinking specifically till neither wants to play more permanents.
Convoluted.
I was gonna say less formal. What's the opposite
Oh,
of formal?
okay.
Less. What's the opposite of formal? Like relaxed.
Yeah.
Less like relaxed speech, where it's like buddy buddy
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing.
You mean now it's like formal and it was really relaxed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like until no one wants.
They're
to play
basically
anymore.
explaining exactly how to put the cards out and everything. They're just explaining it. On
Until
the card.
neither wants to play more permanents. Until no one puts.
No other spells or effects of any kind may be used while Eureka is in effect.
I think
okay?
it's the difference between wants to and until no one puts a
Yeah.
card onto the battlefield. Wants to is the wording that I'm like calling to question here. Do you want to? Do you want to? Or it's just funny looking at old text.
Yeah.
But onto the card. Now, why did we pick Eureka? Well, first of all, the name is Eureka,
Yeah.
which is like a statement that Archimedes made in like the, I don't know, whenever Archimedes was around. I mean, why don't we look into
Look
the
it up.
history of it? I'm pretty sure he's the one that coined the phrase, though. Let's see, something about Eureka. Archimedes' principle. So he made a discovery. Oh yeah, he made a discovery that you could tell if something was real gold because it would displace more water because it was more dense. Something. Yep. Calculate density using water.
Okay.
But when he discovered that, he took to the streets naked, so excited by his discovery that he had forgotten to dress, crying Eureka, which is Greek for I have found it. So now you know the history of that word a little bit, but let's describe the picture because this is a little bit goofy. First, the artist. Why don't you know the artist better than I do? So
Well, and I feel bad because I don't know how to pronounce her name. I feel like it's Kaja, but it could be Kaha. And either way,
I like Kaja.
Kaya. It could be Kaya too.
Kaya. I kind of like.
I like
oh, you're right.
Kaja.
Kaja sounds the best,
Yeah.
but it's most likely
Kaya.
Kaya.
It's probably Kaya,
I think it's Kaya
which
as well.
is a great name too. So Kaya Foglio, presumably, is her name.
Or his.
Yeah, it's not a his because she's married to Phil Foglio.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. They're
yeah.
like doubling up doing art.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, they both have this kind of quirky art style. She also did Presence of the Master, I think, too, but right, that was what it was, or was it Phil Foglio that did it?
We're gonna find out. Phil.
Okay, so
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. They're way into Einstein.
Yeah. So here it is. It's a wizard who has discovered the theory of relativity. Is that what E equals mc squared?
Yeah. Energy equals mass times
times-
this square the speed of light.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
I forget, but
Yes.
okay. Well, there you go. I don't know why a wizard would be studying that, but Tinkerbell is presenting it to him, or a green worm from the Worms series of video games. That's what it kind of looks like to me. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
definitely. It's a goofy picture. It's
Yeah.
very is monochromatic the right word?
Yeah, it is. It is very monochromatic. The name of the card also doesn't really fit with what you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're supposed to be putting things onto the battlefield. I mean, Eureka should mean that you're discovering something new, so you should either be drawing cards or searching your library for something.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the significance of the little worm.
Yeah, I don't either. I really don't, actually. This is just a really interesting way to portray what's happening. Maybe the worm is the thing that he got to put in for free, but you'd think that would cost very little mana to cast.
I almost wish it did have an exclamation point on the
Yeah,
title,
me too.
considering its roots and where it came
Yeah,
from.
and considering that it is like an expression basically, and that you would almost only use it in the Eureka sense. Like, I have found it.
Yeah, this card, you're right, flavorfully, it is
It's kind of a
strange.
miss, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of is maybe even an understatement, because
I
it's a
have
total
found
miss.
it, and it's supposed to be each player. It's just So, yeah, the flavor of it is just
Hypergenesis is a much better representation of what is going on with this effect. You know,
and it doesn't even look like. So
I
it's
mean,
not
that guy
even
looks elated, but it doesn't look like.
Einstein.
Yeah.
Like it's not. So I don't even understand what. It's,
Oh, and
It doesn't
the
make
worm
sense.
thing doesn't even look happy at all to be presenting it.
Yeah, it looks
So
like
it's-
bashful.
Yeah,
That it.
it's like, well, here it is. Here's your
Bashful
theory.
that it knows.
Yeah, but the wizard is just super stoked, and I don't know. It's like, it's some weird art.
Yeah, definitely.
But here's the other thing. They give them the card name. This is how they did it. They gave them the card name, the artist, and they said, please draw this, like, and keep it in fantasy, whatever. And that was their art direction.
At
They
that
didn't,
time, yeah,
they
they've
didn't
gotten-
give them very specific stuff, but
They've gotten more rigorous.
yeah,
for sure.
saying Eureka to an artist and being like, do this for fantasy, Eureka. It's just like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do?
Well,
Like,
they should have given them some background on what they wanted. You'd think the artist would be like, can you give me a little bit
yeah,
more than Eureka?
but I think they were just really
Maybe they were more like a discovery. What would be do a great discovery? What's a great discovery we've had?
But I honestly think they gave them just the card name itself, because like there have been ones where they've given them the card name and they've mistaken what the card name was. so they drew something else because they thought it was that thing. Like Hyalopterus lemur or lemure. I don't know how it's pronounced, but
Lemura or
yeah,
something?
look up Lemure with an E.
Here?
No, Ure.
Let's just do it. Oh. Jeez.
See, but that's a lemur, not a lemure or whatever.
So they spelled the name wrong, or they just
No,
changed
they spelled
what
the
it's-
name right, which is like a spirit, a Greek spirit or something like that.
Oh, I see. But the
But
art
the
direction
artist,
drew
like,
a
got
lemur.
the name and drew a lemur.
'Cause that's funny.
Yeah.
God, this should almost be a different week because the name's so ridiculous.
Yeah, actually, we should have saved that one. I'm
We'll
sorry
get
I
back.
spoiled it.
It's okay. We'll come back to it in a few
Yeah,
weeks. No
well.
one's gonna remember. That's a good one. We'll put that in the vault.
Yeah.
Revisit it. But so final conclusion on Eureka. Name's weird. Wish it had an exclamation point at the very least, and some quotations.
Yeah, an exclamation point would have at least
And a
redeemed it
translation.
some- Yeah. They should have just printed it in Greek.
And then the flavorfully, it's ridiculous.
The
The
artist
picture is
Doesn't
absolutely
make
ridiculous.
any sense for what the card does, or really. I mean, it makes sense for the name. Does not make sense for the card, and which is what happened with this card all over the place. Nothing makes sense with what it does.
You could have put the presence of the master in the background image, and it would have made more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's true. Because at least then you would presume that he's pulling stuff from other magic like places to put into play.
Yeah, no kidding. So, yeah, this wizard discovering the speed of light.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's the speed of light. I said it was the theory of relativity or whatever, but no, that's the speed of light.
Energy equals mass times the square. Well, then I said it wrong.
What is E equals mc squared?
Mass energy equivalence. No, C is the speed of
Yeah.
light.
C is the speed of light.
So I did say energy equals mass times
Yeah.
the square of the speed of light.
But I
Okay.
just wasn't sure what it was actually.
Mass energy equivalence.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Science class
Eureka.
here now too.
Yeah.
Magic and
Eureka
science,
is teaching
guys.
you the mass energy equivalence formula.
Yeah. So monochromatic picture that's goofy, flavorfully, and otherwise. The wizard's like all adorned with weird like
Rivets
little, yeah.
or something, yeah. Like bedazzled almost.
This picture just gets crazier and crazier as
Yeah.
you look at it. Like what's coming off of it? It looks like,
Well,
like flowers or something.
Kaya, or I assume, has this sort of textural
Oh,
thing
that's like
to
her thing. That's her
to
style.
her style, or to her art pieces usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, the picture itself looks cool. I don't like the.
I think Phil Foglio does textural things too sometimes.
I
so.
see. I don't like the equals MC
No,
squared
I don't
thing.
like that in there at all.
I
And
would
this
have.
should
I would
be-
have
this
rather
should-
have just seen like a yellow. You could have not had the worm at all, and I would have liked this picture more.
It should be this. It should be that wizard with his back to us or whatever, and then a giant glowing portal with a monster coming through it. Eureka! Like, and he's there bringing it out. That would have made a lot more sense with the card. But tiny little sprite floating
Tiny
there.
little grub
Like,
holding.
Why
a
would I
chalkboard.
summon you for free?
Holding a mini chalkboard.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Why would I summon
With
you
a
for
bashful
free? Yeah.
little face.
Sorry I came. Here's the here's the
Here's the
energy,
discovery,
yeah.
I guess. I guess here it is.
I guess. I guess.
Oh God. Well, he is a grub in his defense.
Yeah.
So.
He's
It
probably
just-
afraid that he's getting summoned to be eaten, so he's trying to.
Why would they send such a insignificant being to give such a
Monumental like
Dis-
formula or discovery? Yeah.
makes no sense. Love it though. Love how
the nonsensicalness.
the
of this-
absurdity of
yeah,
it
the
is.
absurdity. This is a Monty Python card.
All right. Well, hope you enjoyed that segment this week. We're gonna be back next Sunday. I think this is gonna come up a little bit later on iTunes than normal. I apologize for that. So when you get this, it's gonna be a little late. I apologize. I'm gonna try and be better with that, but I'm working out my Libsyn account because we do have like a total amount that we can do per month for iTunes, so we're trying to limit that. Email me, mortarpod@seemsgoodmagic.com, and I'll respond to any messages, criticisms, concerns you have. Follow us on Twitter @seemsgoodmagic. I'm trying to get better at posting every time I put up a draft video, every time I'm live streaming. Live stream times, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time, and there's a full archives on there, and you can look through them and look at old weeks, and I'm labeling them with the date, so you can sort of see when I played them and what deck I played and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's everything for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.
See you.